Good evening, everyone. The big news today is that Mr. Bernier has not been invited by the debate commissioner to the October debates. The October debates are the federally coordinated debates, not a monk debate, the official debates, right? And Mr. Bernier has not been invited. And I'm going to look through history. Let's go back in time and have a look at how well this party has polled historically, how well they've done in elections historically, the best result. And the worst results, really, I don't look at the worst results, but the worst results were better than 3%, I think. It was 3.1, 4.6 or something like that. But I digress. The point is, we're going to look at where we are and where we're going. And we're going to compare some other metrics that I think are important. So here we go. Let's go back to August 17th, 2018. Maxime Bernier has a base, says the CBC. Is it big enough to protect him? And this is before Maxime Bernier left the Conservative Party. And it says Conservative leader Scheer hasn't said whether he'll boot Bernier from caucus. Can he afford to? No worries. Mr. Bernier split shortly after, and right after that happened, there was a poll, and this poll came out, and this was actually October. It wasn't right after. I thought it was immediately following, but the party was officially created on September 14th, and this poll was done in October of 2018, and you can see that because the link is in the description, but the link is dated 2018-08 slide 4-3. And this is federal vote intention with Bernier's party included, and that's an interesting poll, isn't it? Right? 13%. Wow. Wow, that's incredible. That's a huge amount for a party that just was created. And it looks like it's taking people from the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party and the NDP. Incredible, right? And here's the BC voter intention. This is Bernier's party with 10%. And, well, spoiler alert, that's the result that she got. That's the result that Laura Lynn TT got. In Burnaby South, Mr. Singh won that. But still, it's worth noting, 10%. Right? So with the party created on September 14th and Bernier tearing up the polls, as we just saw, the government responded. The government of Canada reports on October 30th, the government of Canada is following through on its commitment to support a robust process to organize leaders' debates during federal election campaigns. National debates work to enhance Canadians' knowledge of the federal party's leaders and their policy positions. The Honourable Karina Gould, Minister of Democratic Institutions, announced today the creation of an independent Leaders Debates Commission. The Commission's initial mandate will be to organize 2 leaders' debates, one in each official language for the 2019 federal general election. Expect to be fully in place by spring 2019. The Leaders Debate Commission will be led by a commissioner and supported by a 7-member advisory board. All right. So here is shortly after the creation of this advisory board, etc., Ms. Gould comments on Bernier's potential of being allowed in the debates. To iPolitics, she says, Bernier can join leaders' debates if People's Party meets nomination threshold. Gould. Maxime Bernier would be eligible to appear in the 2019 leaders' debates if his upstart People's Party successfully nominates candidates in at least 90% of ridings, Democratic Institution Minister Karina Gould said Thursday. Under the eligibility criteria introduced by the Liberals last month, political parties must satisfy at least 2 out of 3 requirements to have their leaders included in debates organized by the new federal commission. Parties must either have an elected MP or intend to run candidates in 90% of the ridings or have won at least 4% of the vote in 2015 or at least stand a, quote, legitimate chance of winning seats in the next vote. Although elected under the Conservative Party banner in 2015, Bernier would still qualify as a People's Party MP for the purposes of the criteria and would be eligible to participate if his party met the nomination threshold, Gould confirmed to iPolitics following her appearance before the Committee on Procedure and House of Affairs. Bernier could also merit inclusion if his party stands a chance of winning seats by the Commission. A former cabinet minister in Stephen Harper's government, Bernier left the Conservative caucus in late August, calling the party, quote, too intellectually and morally corrupt to be reformed. He has said the People's Party intends to run candidates in all 338 ridings in 2019. Gould said the eligibility requirements were designed to offer the Federal Election Leaders Debates Commission, headed by former Governor General David Johnston, quote, flexibility in determining participants. Interesting. And so I just want to show you how many candidates Mr. Bernier has. And hold on a second, it's in one of my tabs here. So Mr. Bernier has more than 90% of the EDAs covered of the riding associations that have a candidate, 309. That's actually more than the Liberals have, and more than the Greens, and more than the NDP. If Mr. Bernier had 141, I think he'd have less of a case. Honestly, I do. But that's not the case. Mr. Bernier has 309 candidates. And so it's interesting that they are playing this game. So despite the fact that Ms. Gould said that Mr. Bernier would be allowed today, he has been not invited due to poll numbers. We're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to point to this. This is December 14th. So remember, the party was started September 14th. Mr. Bernier left the Conservatives middle of August. I think it was the 18th. I think it was the next day, the day of the Conservative Convention in August 2018. That was the day before that. That was the day he left. And so this party's only been officially running for 2 months, September, October, November, 3 months. And so it's interesting, but the language is language I've been reading. It's the same, really. Here we go. CBC News reporting, months after launching his People's Party, Maxime Bernier still has a long way to go. Maxime Bernier launched his People's Party of Canada just 3 months ago, and he's done a lot since then to build a foundation for it, setting up electoral district associations across the country, building a sizable membership, 40,000, base, and holding well-attended rallies. But despite these signs of early progress, the Quebec MP and former Conservative leadership frontrunner doesn't seem to be having a serious impact on the national political landscape so far. In a party newsletter sent out earlier this week, the PPC said it had electoral districts associations, the building blocks of every political organization, in 292 of Canada's 338 ridings. Okay, I just showed you we had candidates in every riding, blah, blah, blah. But this is back in December. Sorry. A week before that, the party said it had signed up about 33,000 members. Now it's 40,000. Rallies attended by Bernier have attracted hundreds of supporters and curious fence sitters. That's not a bad place for a new party to start, but the PP still have a very long way to go. The CBC poll tracker, an aggregate of all published opinion polls, pegs the PPC support at just 1.8%, not enough to give PPC a hope of winning a single seat. Bernier might not even be a favorite to win re-election in his own Beauce seat, according to the only public poll conducted in the riding. There's also no sign that the People's Party has any regional concentration of support. The PPC is polling marginally better by about 1 or 2 points, depending on the poll, in Atlantic Canada, but that could be due to the popularity of the similarly named but unaffiliated People's Alliance, a provincial party in New Brunswick. So here's the Burnaby South election result, however, in February. So this is 2 months hence, and Laura Lynn got 10%. Now, in Ontario, there were also 2 by-elections, and as I said, they were worse, not as good as 10.6%, but this is a federal decision, not an Ontario decision, and so I think you take the best result, right? Like, no, could be wrong, but I think maybe you average the best result. Still, 10% is better than the other two. Here's polling, and I wanted to show you this line here, the purpley line, I suppose. It's getting kind of dark here, so it's maybe less purple to you. I'm not sure. Anyway, this line that my mouse is on here is the People's Party line. So this goes back to November, and it's got 3. And these are different polls. This is the This is the CBC poll tracker, and I'll show you where we're at because we're at 3%, right? But this stood out to me. This looked strange to me. I'll tell you this before I go through the poll, because we're going to go back to February when Laura Lynn got 10% and just look at what the polls are. But it's interesting. But first, this looks strange to me. The Conservatives are down 33.8, and they're down like a tiny little bit, right? Like there's no movement at all, which seems strange. The Liberals are down, but again, a tiny, tiny little bit, like really not much, especially barreling into this campaign. I think people are upset with Justin Trudeau. And again, I think people are upset with Mr. Scheer as well. And so I think that these numbers seem really just weird. The NDP are up, but I don't see any reason why. There's nothing, like really no reason why people are people being attracted to the NDP. Give me a riding that shows that. They have no candidates in Quebec. Quebec was what made them the official opposition in 2011. And like in the major areas, the NDP areas, there's no candidates. It's like I was just scrolling through looking at the candidates on Wikipedia, and it's empty for the NDP. So I don't get that. Not even a little tiny bit. And the Greens are down. And I think rightly so. Elizabeth May is giving us till October. And I don't think that sits well with most Canadians. I think that looks like you're pushing a narrative, and it smells really, really bad. It smells like you're pushing a narrative. And that's just my take on it. So, okay. All of these major parties are down except the NDP, which has no explanation for being an uptick other than all of the other major parties are just leaking support really slowly, apparently, because Canadians aren't allowed to talk about anything these days, I guess. So that's where the polls sit. And the PPC is at absolutely nothing. Like no movement at all. 3%, 3.1%. Boom. No move, like it just seems odd to me. It just seems odd. Okay, now going back to the polls here. So I want to show you. Sorry for the scrolling. I know people don't like it so much. Here's the PPC. Okay, and it does. I wish I could like have it. Oh, you know what? I can't. Hold on. Okay, well that was worth the pause. Okay, here we go. Oh. Okay, that was worth the pause. I forgot to do something. Okay, so there we go. PPC. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and we're just going to look at the numbers here. Block I left. I didn't want to get it all too many letters. Okay, so Liberal, Conservative, right? PPC. So we start right away in November, 3, then 1, then 1, then 1, then no result, not included. And then a bunch of 1s and 2s, 4, 2, and 4. This is in December and January, 4, 2, 4, so increasing. And then the end of December, 1, 2, not on a poll at the end of January. So we go from 4, some strong 2s and 4s, to 1s and 2s and being not included, and then a 3, not included, a 2, not included, a 4, a 1, and now we're into February. And the Burnaby South election was in February 2019, so PPC is in the press at this point. But not included in all polls, right? So I find that interesting. And the Greens are included in most polls. There are the odd one that the Greens are not. And even independents are included in most polls more consistently than the PPC. So that's interesting to note how many missing polls. And I guess maybe it's local. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the difference is. But there's certainly some big holes here. March 1st, PPC polling 5 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 4 and not included and 2 and not included, and moving into April, right? So there's very little movement despite a lot of action on the ground. I'm not sure this bears out. And I mean, who knows? I'm sure the data may be right. You can see the methodology, you can see the amount of people who were asked for this poll, and so there's 3.1 margin of error, right? So or 2.5 or whatever. So there's lots of information here, and take it for what it is. But at the same time, here's a 6 and a 5, a 3, a 2, not included, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, right? And so now here's the August 2nd PPC 3, and aggregate all together, it's 3.1. And so that's a lot of information, I suppose, but it just doesn't sit with me, doesn't sit right with me. Combine that with reports I've heard of people having polls where the People's Party is not included. And so, I mean, maybe that's happening in, I don't know, 50% or 25%, but that's certainly going to impact things, right? If the People's Party is not included, you don't vote. And so that weeds out people who know about the People's Party because they just hang up. So it's interesting. Here's the benefits of being an incumbent, and an incumbent is somebody who already holds the seat. So they already hold the seat. So there are proven advantages. This is a Canadian political journal, the Canadian Parliamentary Review, and this is an article written by them. I just wanted to highlight the benefits of an incumbent and the idea that Mr. Bernier, who's been elected more than once in his seat, he's very popular. People like him and know him in his riding. But he enjoys benefits that all incumbents enjoy. It would be difficult to unseat him, right? If you're a political opponent in Beauce, you're hoping that he retires because it's not likely you're going to beat him unless he does something unbelievable. And starting your own party, not so unbelievable, especially in Canada. I mean, it is done. So it's not an unforgivable thing. People have stuck with people into new parties. They just have. Here's the article. It says the electoral benefits of incumbency. Although the ability to capitalize on their condition differs, numerous electoral advantages exist for all incumbents in Canada. These benefits are believed to increase incumbents' vote share between 3 and 14%. 11 incumbents are typically able to secure this advantage through their term in office. The 11 was just the reference number. I apologize. It's late. I don't usually do shows this late anymore. Incumbents' electoral advantages begins with their position as office holders. This affords them the opportunity to unofficially campaign by repeated exposure through newsletter and press release distribution at constituents' expense. While in office, incumbents can develop an understanding of riding issues and concerns, can better measure the positions of interest groups, and receive briefings from experienced office staff. They are able to establish contacts with voters, groups, reporters, and other politicians, even potential opponents. They can contact constituents more frequently through the use of free mailing and telephone, paid staff, and free transportation. Moreover, incumbents are contacted by people who might not otherwise become politically involved. Okay, so there's all of that going for Mr. Bernier, and I was going to just remind you about our polling. Here's the official August 12th newspaper article from the CBC saying that Mr. Bernier is not welcome or not invited yet. And here it is. It says, Maxime Bernier excluded from initial invitation to leaders' election debates. The Leaders Debate Commission, the body organizing 2 major federal election debates, has invited the leaders of 5 political parties to participate, with the notable exception of People's Party leader Maxime Bernier. He has been left off the list, at least for now. Bloc Québécois leader Yves Francois Blanchet, Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer, Green Party leader Elizabeth May, Liberal Party leader Justin Trudeau, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh have secured tickets to the October 7th English language debate and the French language affair on October 10th. These debates will be carried by a consortium of major television broadcasters, including the CBC. In a letter to Bernier, David Johnston, the former Governor General and the Commissioner of the Debate Organization Group, said the People's Party has not yet met one of the criteria to participate in the televised debates, namely that the party isn't represented in the House of Commons by an MP who was elected as a member of that party. Bernier was elected as a Conservative before leaving to start his party after a failed Tory leadership run. Beyond that, Johnston said a survey of recent opinion polls, including the CBC News poll tracker, led him to conclude that the People's Party would have a difficult time actually getting one of its candidates elected in the October 21st election. According to the poll tracker, if the election were held today, the People's Party is projected to win 0 or 1 seat based on its current 3.1% polling average. So I'm just going to leave it there. The rest of the story is viewable. I just wanted to give you a reminder. This is where we sit for seats. We have more than every other party except for the Conservative Party. And that's interesting. And we also have Mr. Salim Mansur, who was formerly a Conservative candidate, who is now running for the People's Party in the same riding. And he had his infrastructure set up, etc. And Mark King is a well-respected former city councillor, multiple term city councillor in his riding, and so he enjoys the benefits of being an incumbent as well. I think that there are other indicators of the strength of this party, and I think that it's interesting that the debate commissioner is looking at these polls, and maybe they're bang on, maybe they're 100% bang on, and my bullshit detector is just going off for no reason, right? Maybe I could be totally off here, and I'm okay with being totally off. If I'm off, hey, so be it. I'm wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong. But just it looks fishy to me. But maybe nobody's interested in what Mr. Bernier has to offer. And if that's the truth, then why not let him on the stage? If that's the truth, why not let him make a complete fool of himself? Right? If that's the truth, put him on the stage and say, what's this guy doing up here? Right? I don't think that's the truth. I don't think that's the truth at all. Not even close. I think they're terrified that if Mr. Bernier is up there, their Overton window gets shredded, and Canadians go, oh, he's actually talking to us, because he is. So this looks like bunk to me, and I'm not afraid to say it. So my name is Mark Paralivis. I'm the People's Party candidate for the Guelph riding for the October federal election. I hope you vote for me. And check out the People's Party of Canada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thanks for watching, everybody.